Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Two Dudes Talking Motorcycle podcast. My name is Mitch, and you can follow me on Instagram at Meets to the Beach.
And I'm Gleb, and you can follow me on Instagram at GlebLapham. And you can...
Oh yeah, and we have our podcast Instagram as well. It's at tdtmotorcycles. And we also have our email. If you have any questions or comments or anything to share, we're happy to hear from you. But that is tdtmotorcycles@gmail.com.
And today's topic is going to be... Actually, what is today's topic?
This isn't going to be a structure. We're not doing any history or like education.
A little more of a chill episode.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about I would like to talk about our any close calls that we've had that we don't mind sharing, what we've learned from them, or if we have any of those moments like, while we're still alive, and it's like, oh, I should have done something different,
Yeah, no, I do agree with that.
Yeah.
I think that would be something really good to talk about.
Yeah, so that's going to be our main topic, but we do have some motorcycle news, and as just a reminder to everybody, if you don't know, the Distinguished Gentleman's Ride is in 20 days, May 19th. Me and Gleb are going to be participating in that this year again. So
yeah, I'm super excited for that because I had a lot of fun doing that ride last year. I'm just it was nice last year because our friend Dave let me borrow his Street Twin. Triumph Street Twin.
Yeah,
and because it's a very classic looking bike, it's a very it's a modern classic. Yeah, and it really fits the look of the Distinguished Gentleman's Ride. But this year, I don't think I'm going to have the same opportunity to do so.
And I will have to figure something out. Maybe
I'm probably just going to ride my Tiger, to be honest.
Or maybe Emerson. Maybe if he still has his Ducati.
That's true. Maybe I'll ask him. Emerson, if you're listening to this, which you probably will.
Yeah, I hope so.
But if anything, I'll probably just ride my Tiger.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to decide what kind of outfit I want to wear this year.
Yeah.
And figure that out.
Vest.
I was gonna, last year I wore like a jacket and it was a little too warm.
Yeah,
that time of year. So we'll see, depending on the weather, what it's going to be like.
Yeah, what I love about this will be my fourth ride. I did my first ride in 2020 when I got my first bike.
Yeah.
But what I really just come to love about it the most is because it's a global event. There's millions of people. Well, maybe not millions, but there's over 100 rides taking place the same day.
Yeah.
So it's a global event. You kind of feel that energy. Like you have your ride that you go to in your city, right? But there's like an energy. It's like all of us are doing this.
Oh yeah, I absolutely love it, and it's really cool to see where we're like at the start of the ride. We go to the staging area where it starts, and we have see all the different kinds of bikes that people bring there, and that they. It's just cool to see the different bikes that people have because a lot of them are pretty unique. Like some people bring some really unique, like old school, like old rebuilt bikes,
some classics,
some really really classic bikes, not just modern classics, but actual classics, which I absolutely loved seeing all of that last year.
No, so I'm excited for it. You guys, if you haven't done one yet, you should.
I highly recommend it.
It's a great way to you're doing charity work for men's mental health and prostate cancer research. And if you need to meet people, if you want to meet some riding friends, that's a great place to do it.
Yeah, there's so many great people I met just on that ride alone.
Yeah, so
it was a lot of fun to do.
Yeah, so I think we should post our donation links if any of you want. Feel free if you would like to donate to us or sponsor yourselves. It doesn't really matter, as long as you're if you're feeling to donate, it doesn't matter who you donate to. It's going to go to this cause. So, yeah. May 19th, everybody.
May 19th. I'm looking forward to that.
It's going to be good.
It's pretty exciting.
Yep.
And bike
you have some news for us.
Yeah, and bike related news. So we have doing a quick little search here, but two bikes that caught my eye in the past couple of weeks or so since our last episode are both Italian bikes, and they're both middleweight adventure bikes. But one is from MV Agusta, which, if I remember recently, was actually acquired by KTM. So they're going to start kind of working a lot with them. And also another one's from Moto Guzzi, which is also another Italian manufacturer. But we'll start with the MV Agusta real quick. And the interesting thing about that is, or what I thought was interesting about it is that it is a 3-cylinder, a triple cylinder, 124 horsepower bike. It is a middleweight adventure bike, so it's meant to compete with the Tiger 900, the KTM Adventure 890, the not the Multistrada, the Desert X, the Tenere 700, Africa Twin.
Yeah.
Africa Twin.
BMW has their new 900 out too.
And the F900 as well, the F900 GS. But the interesting about it is that this thing actually has more power than any of those bikes, coming in at 124 horsepower on the engine, which is a pretty good bit for a
midweight
adventure bike. 75 pound-feet of torque, available, 85% of which is available at 3,000 RPM.
Yeah, so, and you have all the information. I don't have my iPad with me since we're recording at your place on your couch today. So.
Yes. But from the kind of bike it is, I mean, it comes with all the expected features that, are pretty typical of a bike in its class. You got different riding modes. You got different levels of like ABS, traction control. You got a TFT screen. You got... judging by the picture, it looks like it's pretty equipped. It's already equipped with like a skid plate, and I'm not seeing a center stand on there, but it looks like it's touring and adventure ready.
Yeah. No, and
spoked
it looks
wheels.
Good too.
Yeah, it does. It does look good. For those listening, it kind of reminds me of a mix of almost like a smaller Africa Twin in the front,
yeah,
and then maybe a little bit of the Tiger 900 from the side,
yeah.
Especially
and then you look at it from the headlights though too. Like I see where you're like it has like that. If you guys go and look up this bike, it does have like that kind of mean eyes that you see on the Africa Twin, but at the same time how it's like more pointed. It almost kind of reminds me of like a Panigale headlight.
A little bit, yeah,
and with that red on there too.
It's that Italian flair.
Yeah, it looks
just
good.
Making them a little bit extra Italian.
Yeah. No, I mean, I want to know more about it because like if I ever do end up getting like a more dedicated, like, fully fared touring bike,
an
ADV bike, that looks nice. I might want to look into one of those too. Spoked wheels.
There are actually no, sorry, the tires are optional that are shown here on this picture. This okay. I'm getting this information from advpulse.com. They have a lot of great articles on especially newer bikes and things like that. Can get a rainforest skid plate as an option, and titanium exhaust. That's the picture that's shown here. Panniers, engine guards or tank guards up front, and it does seem like it has that Italian side. If you look at like the picture of the seat here, it almost looks like if you've seen in cars like Alcantara material. I doubt it's that because I don't think that will last too long in the elements. Yeah. But it does look like a very nice and comfortable seat as well. It kind of slopes down a lot, kind of like my Tiger does.
Yeah.
So very adventure bike.
I like it.
Yeah, and I do like how it looks. Some of the other things that are included. Hold on, give me. Yeah, 6-speed electronic or 6-speed gearbox. It does have a quick shifter as well, both up and down. And then the weight is coming in at, let me see if they have the weight on here. So the dry weight is 493 pounds, which is pretty typical.
Okay,
yeah,
is that close to your Tiger?
Yeah, it's this is the dry weight. I'm pretty sure wet it would probably weigh just around my Tiger, or at least the Rally Pro once you add in all the sump guard, the engine guards, and all that stuff. So I think it's pretty typical of the category.
Something I want to keep my eye on to hear more about. What's this one called again? It's the MV Agusta.
The MV Agusta Enduro Veloce.
Okay.
Yeah. Huh. So 931 cc engine. It's got a 124 horsepower, 72 pound-feet of torque. Up and down quick shifter, upside down suspension is made by Sachs. Upside down telescopic forks, rebound, compression adjustable, and preload adjusting as well. Sachs monoshock with rebound and compression and spring preload adjusting in the back. So that's actually I don't think my Tiger has compression adjusting in the back, just rebound. So it seems like spoked wheels. Does have the full TFT with Bluetooth, Wi-Fi connectivity, cruise control. It's even got launch control and 8 levels of traction control, so that's kind of cool.
That's actually really nice.
Yeah, full LED headlights with daytime running lights. So yeah, basically all the things you would expect from kind of that range of motorcycle. There is no pricing available yet, or at least I don't see any on here.
Yeah.
But I would assume it's I lied. There is pricing available. The Veloce is going to be priced at around almost $23,000. So
Oof.
it's a little up there,
Okay.
which for an Italian bike, I'm kind of not surprised.
Yeah.
That's pretty much in line with the
with that name to it too.
And that's pretty much in line with the Desert X. I mean, especially the new the Desert X Rally that just came out. That's pretty much, I think that's $23,000.
Maybe I won't be looking at one then. It's a little spicy for me.
That is
right
a little
now.
spicy of a price. But then on the other side of Italy as well, we do also have the Moto Guzzi V85. And this is one of their midweight adventure bikes as well. And I really dig the looks of this one, even more than the Augusta, mainly because it kind of looks almost retro, a little retro-esque right there.
What I love about it, it's like it has like that retro aesthetic to it, but it's like a little bit more fully fared to look more like an adventure bike, and obviously because I love my Scrambler for its looks. Yeah. But it's been called like a naked adventure bike, but this is like, it looks more like an adventure bike. And
to me, it really has this kind of like old school adventure look to it. It reminds me of the old school, like old school Tiger, old school BMW, minus the different headlights and stuff. But I really like that. The two eyeballs just looking at you.
No, I like that a lot. So
I've been a big fan of how Moto Guzzi bikes look in general, because it does have that sideways mounted V-twin. So the cylinder heads are pretty much sticking out of the side.
We need to ride a MV Augusta.
Yeah. Or the Guzzi.
Moto Guzzi. Geez.
I mean, we need to ride both.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. The interesting thing about this is this is the only middleweight adventure bike that has a shaft drive instead of a chain drive.
Yeah.
For those of you that probably have a shaft drive bike, they are nice because you don't have to maintain them and lube them up constantly like you do with a chain drive. They're all enclosed. I think eventually you have to change out the kind of like the oil and stuff like that inside of them, but overall it's a fully closed system. So if you're doing long tours, you don't have to worry about lubing them up every few hundred miles, which I think is nice.
And his name is escaping me right now. We had a listener / viewer. He corrected us on like the drive, like the power transfer from the drivetrain.
Yeah, so it's not
shaft to a chain.
It's not as the drive shaft won't be as efficient as at delivering the power from the engine to the wheel, but it is efficient when it comes to maintenance and cleaning and just overall maintenance of it, is because it's pretty much maintenance free, at least on the outside. But like I said, eventually you'll have to change out at least something in there. It is, I mean, eventually it'll just get old.
You're never going to escape motorcycle maintenance. So.
Yeah. But it's kind of interesting because there's that monoshock on the side there.
Oh yeah.
As well. So it's almost kind of like your bike, except yours has dual shocks on each side.
But it looks really good.
Yeah, so. I really like how it looks. It does have a skid plate on the bottom there.
I'm going to look into that until you tell me the price. But.
Okay, sounds good. Maybe we'll get to that if there is a price available. And to me, it feels like this bike has almost more of a dirt bike or dual sport aesthetic, just like a large dual sport, especially because the front like fender is coming up a little bit higher off the wheel instead of being right on it. It has more of a beak to it and stuff. So I don't know. I am really digging the looks of these of Moto Guzzis. I would love to ride one, any of them, not just this one specifically, but I just love how it has that retro aesthetic. I would really love to ride this at the DGR.
Yeah, that'd
because
be awesome.
It does have that really classic look. Look on it. Brembo brakes, dual brakes up front. It does have a TFT screen as well, and pretty much all the usual stuff, like the same as the MV Augusta within the same category. It pretty much has all the typical features you would expect. Specs
that
here.
Is nice though.
I really like how it looks.
Yeah.
It's got 80 horsepower. It's got quite a bit less, even less than my Tiger.
Yeah.
61 pound-feet of torque, but I still think for the type of bike it is, that's right up there for pretty much the usual. The usual what you would expect. Upside down telescopic forks, and it's got that double-sided swing arm with that monoshock in the back, which I think it looks pretty dope.
Yeah.
And the weight of it is 230 kilograms, which
what did it say?
about 507 pounds. So right up there with the rest of the bike, but it does have less power. So I'm wondering like how that's going to translate The power to weight ratio is a little bit less.
Yeah.
A little less than my Tiger, a little less than the Augusta that we just talked about.
Do you think, because I don't know how they're measuring it, like, are they measuring that like in testing, so maybe that drop in power is from the drive shaft, or do you think it's going to be
I think that's just on the engine.
Okay.
So I think the horsepower at the wheel is going to be different.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe it is because I think it's just it is a smaller capacity engine as well. 853 cc's versus 900 and however
many.
Yeah, however 930 or so the other one was. So it is a slightly smaller engine, which I probably, kind of makes it have less power in general.
Yeah.
But overall, like it does still look very, very much like an adventure bike. It does have that high exhaust, which is nice. So you got some extra ground clearance.
From that side profile, it's kind of reminiscent of like a Long Way Round, like the BMWs.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking about, because it kind of looks more like it looks more like a dirt bike, like a big souped up dirt bike versus like a more sleek fendered or fared dual or adventure bike. Yeah, which I don't know. I personally really like how it looks. I think it is a really good look for an adventure bike.
Is there a price on that one then?
I'm not seeing the price on here. Okay. I might just try to look it up real quick.
I'm curious. I mean, I'm not like I'm in a position to buy another bike right now, but like it's, but yeah, hopefully, I mean, I don't expect it's going to be much cheaper than the MV Agusta.
I really doubt it, because they're both pretty high priced. Yeah. I mean, they're both Italian bikes, so I feel like they will be a little bit further up there. They're going to carry
some pedigree over into the price tag. So,
let me see if I can find the price real quick. And then and then while I'm looking for that, the Moscow Moto, if you're an adventure rider, you've probably heard of Moscow Moto, the brand, because it is the brand that pretty much so many different riders use all over the place. Yeah. Traveling the world. Itchy Boots uses them. A lot of other YouTubers use
their bags.
Using them. Soon to be me, because I just ordered a pair of their bags, which I will be happy to talk about on the next episode, or after I
bring it for show and tell for the next episode.
After I put them on and get them all set up and stuff. I'm pretty excited. I'm looking forward to it. It should be here in a couple of days, so I'm excited to do it. Real quick, I actually did found the Moto Guzzi V85 is slated to cost around
where'd it go?
It just disappeared on me. I am sorry, I cannot find shit today.
Revzilla.
It is Revzilla, yeah. You think the price would be down in the specs somewhere, but apparently not.
Well, speaking of Revzilla, if you guys are looking for motorcycle gear, we do have our affiliate link. It doesn't cost you anything extra. It's just a way for you to get your gear and also support the podcast. So we'd appreciate it if you use it. You can find what you want a lot easier than Gleb can find the price on this bike.
Yeah, all you have to do is search. But for this bike, apparently I'm just having a hard price. A hard time. Wow, my brain's not working today. I'm just going to edit this whole section out. I can't find the price on the bike. I don't know if it's been announced yet, especially here in the US. Yeah, Moto Guzzi has yet to set an MSRP on here. So I don't know, with the MV Agusta being around 23,000, which is a lot for a mid-weight adventure bike. Yeah. I mean, you're boarding heavyweight adventure bike territory in that. I mean, just for a little bit more, you can get the GS.
Tiger 1200.
You can get the Tiger 1200, you can get the GS. Not coming close to the Multistrada. No. That's way up there. So no price on this, but I'm kind of assuming with a smaller engine, maybe it'll be a little bit cheaper, maybe like $17,000 price range, which sounds a lot more reasonable. Yeah. And I don't know, I haven't heard too many problems, but I also haven't heard too many things on the Moto Guzzi's like reliability and things like that. I don't know.
Because what I've heard about them, and I've heard this about MV Agusta too, is it's not so much like their reliability is bad. It's like just when something is needed, it's like the dealer network. The network is not quite there in a lot of places.
I don't I don't even know where the closest Moto Guzzi dealer to us is. I would assume probably maybe Vegas.
Yeah.
Maybe Vegas, maybe like the West Coast. Definitely California's got to have
They're
one.
going to have, yeah.
But nothing here in Utah. I don't even know if Colorado has one.
I don't know. So it's just something you have to look into.
And that's pretty much the case with a lot of bikes. And we've talked about this, I feel like a couple of episodes ago, where deciding on a bike dealer network is a consideration. It's not usually a deal breaker, but it's still nice to have.
It's just something to be aware of, really. So you can just plan for it.
Yeah. And then back to the Moscow Moto.
Oh yes.
So if you're familiar, their bags are pretty much well known in the adventure riding community because they make some damn good bags. And like Mitch said, I'm getting some I'm getting some next week, so I'm curious to see how they are in person. But they announced and they released their first adventure jacket that with built-in armor. So they've had shells before they just wear over like an armored vest underneath that are abrasion resistant, but this one's a full-on jacket. So it is fully laminated, waterproof jacket. So it doesn't have a waterproof layer that you put in or take out. It is already fully waterproof on the outside. It is coming in at a whopping $1,200, which is up there with like Revit and Dainese and Climb prices. Jeez. So for that kind of price, I'm expecting that it's going to be, it better be a
good.
Very good jacket. That's like high level Revit, like the Revit Defender GTX that they have, the Climb Badlands
the Belfasts.
That are super pricey jackets. So, but I will say, like, if it's built to the same standard as their bags, which I personally haven't used yet, but so many other adventure riders use them all over the place, and they last them for ages. So I will say, yes, it's a high price tag, but if this jacket lasts you for the next 10 years, then that's kind of worth it than having to replace it every few years. And if it's built to the same standard as their bags, I expect it to be very well and solidly constructed jacket.
Yeah, I think that to me, like when I see their prices and like how kind of they market their stuff, it's like their mindset is like buy once, cry once.
Yeah, pretty much. And they do have, like, at least for their bags, I remember seeing on their website, they have a cool like crash replacement program. So if you go down with your bikes and end up like tearing or ripping or something like that, you can send them in, they'll fix them up for you or something along those lines. So I wonder if that will extend to their jackets as well.
Again, at those prices, I hope so.
Yeah. But my biggest thing was like, it's cool that they're getting into it, but I'm also weary of buying the first gen product because I always feel like there's always some kind of quirks and issues with anything, not even like a riding jacket, cars, bikes, shoes, jackets, backpacks, anything like that. When it's the first iteration of a product, I feel like there's always a few quirks and kinks that people find that they fix in the next iteration of it, and you're like, oh, I kind of wish mine had that.
Yeah.
So
we'll see.
But hopefully a few adventure riders out there like take it out and test them, give them feedback. And I'm pretty sure they've done plenty of testing, because if you do follow Moscow Moto on Instagram, especially Moscow Pete, I think that's their like founder, CEO guy.
Yeah.
He does a lot of adventure riding. He does a lot of off-roading riding, and he tests their like prototypes of their products and things like that in the field. So it's not just some pencil pusher in an office saying like, yeah, these materials should work for this. Like, it's actually being tested by people that will use these products, which I think is pretty awesome.
That's pretty sweet. So.
I think Moscow Moto only sells their stuff through their website. I don't think you can get this through a Revzilla affiliate link.
No.
But you can definitely get a bunch of other stuff. Or if you don't feel like shopping, you can also buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/tdtmotorcycles and help support the podcast that way.
Yep. We're hoping to get some new equipment and just kind of keep growing the show.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yep.
Should we move into
I think so.
Our main topic?
So that wasn't a bit of news. That was quite a lot of news.
That was quite a lot of news, mainly because I was fumbling around trying to find that price on that Moto Guzzi.
Well, we all have those
apparently
days.
It does not exist.
Yeah, we have those days. Just
it's been a long week.
Yep,
busy week for me.
Just have a better mindset when you're actually riding.
That's true. I'm glad it's kind of rainy today, because if it wasn't, I'd probably be out on the ride, and I'm like, maybe I shouldn't be out on the ride, because then I might have some close calls.
Yeah. And that's actually a really good segue into our the main topic. Yeah. Again, I'm hoping it's me and you can discuss like any of our close calls that we've had. Like, did you learn anything from it, or is it just one of those things that like you did everything right, but because we've been riding for 4 years now.
Yeah, so, pretty much.
Come May, 4 years.
Yeah.
So
should we celebrate?
I think we should.
Oh my God, let's celebrate.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll figure something out.
Yeah. Well, it's and you just have you have stuff that just kind of happens on the road.
Yeah, like you almost hit a sheep.
Or you do hit a
almost
sheep.
Hitting a sheep. So. Or hitting a sheep with my boot.
Yeah. Or just a bird flying into your helmet, and so that was
all sorts of
grazing
stuff.
your helmet, so.
Yeah.
But I don't know about you, like going into this season, and it's been kind of a slow start with our weather being intermittent,
Yeah. But you also got to remember, it is only April. It is barely touching May.
My expectation is it's spring and I want to ride right now. So like this weather can just cut the bullshit. I want to ride.
I mean, we did have a few nice riding days, which have been a blessing.
Yeah.
But it is raining outside today.
Yeah. But and for me though, coming into this riding season, I've just been kind of like more, I don't know, is aware the right word, or just been more mindful of like some of the risks, I guess. I just know it's different from other years. Just like I'm gonna go ride. Like I'm still gonna go ride.
Yeah.
But it's like, I guess my mind is a little more cautious or something.
I think that's fair, especially coming in from winter season. You're probably more aware that drivers aren't aware of you. Plus, I don't know, after having the bike sit around for a while, there's probably some things like, does this feel off, or is this how it always felt? And I feel like there's always some weird like thought in the back of the head where it's like, I can't tell if something is wrong, or I can't, or if it's just always felt this way and I just kind of forgot slightly over time.
Yeah. Or if you're just like, it's like, what's wrong with my baby?
Exactly. So there's always some weird quirks, but I think this is that time of the year where a lot of close calls can happen, whether it's your fault or somebody else's fault. So far I haven't had anything too big to worry about.
That's good.
That I've had so far this year, but that doesn't mean I haven't had them before.
Yeah. Well, like even for me recently, just this week, I was just out on a ride. I can't even remember what day it was. So it's been this kind of week I've had, Gleb.
Yeah,
but,
same.
But I was stopping in to get gas, just to top it off, at a gas station by my old place. That corner gas station there.
Yeah.
So I'm riding down that street, and it's just kind of weird, like with the gas station being on the corner. Then there's the intersection. So some people are gonna try and get to the light to turn left. Other people want to turn in the gas station.
Yeah.
And before that, there's another pull out. So I was in the left lane heading north, so I could get over into the median to turn left into that lot. But in doing that, there was a car pulled out behind me, and they were kind of close, so I sped up so I could get in. But then at the same time, a car it just looked like they were going to the light, right?
Yeah.
But they suddenly they hit their brakes really hard, and then their blinker came on at the same time. So it's like they just made a snap decision to get to the gas station as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I sped up to get over, because the other person behind me, they were kind of rolling, but they were trying to get into traffic to keep going north.
Yeah.
So I sped up to get around, and this car kind of they just hit their brakes randomly, just really suddenly. So in my speed up, I had to quickly, emergency brake there.
Yeah.
And then I started to kind of swerve back out of traffic, because I was thinking, oh, maybe I'm going to hit them,
Yeah.
Luckily that didn't happen. I didn't pull out, because as I did that, as I started to, that car that was behind me went by. And so I was like, man, I should have timed that better. Just thinking,
Just kind of shake it off a little bit after.
Not really. I was just kind of like, oh, Mitch, you goofed up.
Yeah. Okay.
So
that makes sense.
You put yourself in that situation.
Yeah. And it's good that you recognize that, because I think that's when you kind of use it as a learning experience.
Yeah.
Close calls.
Yeah. So that was just kind of the issue that I had with that. So that was my most recent incident, and it got me thinking about other previous times, and and again, going back to I say it all the time in our episodes, but I need to practice my emergency maneuvers and slow speeds.
Yeah. I think it's very important to do those kinds of things just in general as you're even in the middle of riding season, just so you know what to do and like how to handle yourself when approaching a dangerous situation. Like I said, so far this year I haven't had any close calls, but
I will dispute you on that. We had our ride with Emerson, and you pulled out at the intersection because you thought a Prius was stopping.
Oh yeah, you are right. I totally forgot about that. Yeah, that was completely my fault.
Yep.
I did think that lane that the car was in was a turning lane, so I was assuming. And see, that's the problem, is I assumed they were going to do what, and they didn't do it, and I pulled out kind of right in front of them. I'm just glad they were paying attention and not going super fast.
Yeah.
That it wouldn't have been...
You almost died.
I mean, I could have been hit. I mean, they weren't going super fast, but it still probably would have sucked quite a bit.
It's a very heavy block of metal moving at you. So.
Exactly. So yeah, I did have that close call. I'm glad you reminded me of that. And that was completely my fault because I was the one that didn't double check to make sure that that's not a turning lane. They didn't have I don't know if they had their blinker on or anything like that. Either at the moment.
I didn't even see him. All I knew is that you pulled out, and then like right as you pulled out, I saw a car just like, like oh shit.
Yeah, and also I was leading that ride, so I was like, didn't really think about like, oh wait, I got other riders behind me and stuff. If I pull out now, they won't be able to follow me right away. Yep. So either way, it was just not a very good thing. But I did think that the lane they were in was also a turning lane, so I was assuming they were going to turn right when in fact they went straight.
Yeah, because I was assuming that the car that hit its brakes suddenly, that they were. I mean, yes, I assumed that they were going to the light to turn left, because at the speed that they were moving, and then with how quickly they slammed on their brakes and then with their blinker to turn in, just, erratic driver. I don't know. Yeah,
so I don't know, but yeah, that one would have been totally my fault, just because I should have been paying attention to where that car was going and make sure and confirm that they were in fact, whether they were going straight or turning right. But I didn't check that, and I wasn't paying attention to the lanes on the road and see where they're going as well. Yeah. So, but it was early in the season too, and not that that's an excuse.
No, but at the same time we are dusting off the cobwebs a bit from winter, and
So it's one of those things where it's kind of like one of the few longer rides we've done this year, and that was, it was during the day after work, and it's just one of those things where sometimes it happens, but it doesn't mean that it should. That's not an excuse for letting it happen.
Yeah, and it's also because it's starting to be riding season. Like we as riders, we're going to have some bad habits that we've formed from not riding, or we just don't have the skill set. Or we're going to try to ride like we rode yesterday when we're just starting our season. Yeah. But then we also have the car drivers. Sometimes you're just not. They're not aware.
They're not aware, and I'm pretty sure like our driving habits in the car, which we do most of the winter, are very different than our driving habits on the bike. And sometimes on the bike, you're still kind of like thinking that mentality, like, oh, I can just go right now real quick and stuff without, where a similar kind of incident in the car would be much less of a, much less punishing than it would be. It would hurt the car, but it wouldn't hurt you. Yeah. But on a bike, probably crush your leg or something.
And I try to watch out for motorcyclists as a rider, but like on one hand, because it's like, oh, what's that bike? Look at that bike, Yeah. It's just like, but also, I do wonder sometimes. It's like, has there been a motorcyclist that I haven't noticed? I'm sure coming into riding season
I'm sure I've done it before, like definitely before I started riding, because maybe I wasn't quite aware of it. I try to definitely be way more aware of bikes now, but like we're all human, and whether you're on the bike or in a car, there's probably going to be some kind of thing like I did where you overlook or you don't quite register where someone is going and what they're doing, and might pull out in front of them, or end up doing something wrong. But that's just when you take a step back, you evaluate what you did wrong, and then make sure you don't do it again. Yeah, put it in your bag of memories to pull from, and hopefully it helps you down the road, or or it helps you not so much in the sense of reacting, but just be like, oh, I remember when that happened. Let's not do that again. Yeah. So I remember like Last year there was the incident with the sheep.
Mm-hmm.
That was a close call. That was definitely not my fault. That sheep just darted across the road. I did look away.
Well, we're looking
from
at the cute little baby sheep.
Yeah, there was a little baby sheep, and I looked away for just a split second, but that split second was just enough for that sheep to like start darting across the road. Which, once again, I should have thought like there's sheep on both sides of the road. They might run across, and I was still expecting that, but I did get distracted by the little baby sheep on the other side of the road. But luckily, the speeds of both me and the sheep matched up to the point where I didn't hit it directly on. It just kind of rolled off my boot.
Yeah.
And then flopped to the ground. It did get back up for anyone wondering, I think.
It stumbled away.
It stumbled away. It probably had a headache or concussion for a good rest of the day. Hopefully it lived a happy life. It might be a
mutton shank at this point.
Yeah, so, probably. But I was fine. The sheep questionable. Yeah. But I did not end up going down on my bike, which is very important. Yeah. But I did remember like having to stop right after. I was like, I gotta just like walk around for a second because.
Well, and we want to check your bike too.
Yeah, we did want to check my bike and stuff to make sure it's like didn't actually
have any sheep on it.
Destroy the sheep. Yeah. And nothing was bent or out of shape. But I don't think the sheep even touched a part of my bike. Maybe there was a little bit of fur, just like a wool that ended up on it, but I don't remember seeing that on my boot. But I did feel the impact on my boot. Yeah. And looking at the GoPro footage of it happening to you can see me kind of like twerk the handlebars a little bit because I can from the impact. Yep. But overall it was fine, but that was definitely a very close and dangerous call because if that sheep would have been running just a little bit quicker or I would have been going a little bit slower, it could have been like pretty much splitting that sheep in half. Yeah. Not literally, but hitting it dead on right in the middle, and that would have been a much worse scenario than.
Well, because I was behind you for that, and so I was like, for me, I was going into my reaction, and because like in that really small amount of time, I was like, okay, he goes down. I got my trauma kit, like we have cell service, so I can take care of you if I need to. But then like once you didn't go down, I was just like. I was relieved, so I was just laughing because it was just a ridiculous situation.
I was too. And I was like, I gotta like stop for a second and walk it off because you get like a little bit of an adrenaline rush. Yeah. And then this one's not really a close call, but I did have that one moment where I did tip my bike over while I was off roading, and stuff, and not really a close call, but just more of just mistakes on my part. And I have a whole episode on this that I did. Yeah. A few months ago. Yep. But yeah, it just happened that I kind of bit off a little bit more than I could chew going off road and got a little too nervous. Yeah. Going down a steeper part of a hill and just went too slow, and the bike just it just
bikes
tipped
don't like
over.
To go slow.
Yeah, they don't like to go slow, and when they go slow, they tend to lie down and want to take a nap. Yep. But I was fine. Yeah. Like my boots, props to them. They kept my shin from getting bruised or hurt. Yeah. And my ankle nice and stiff, even though the uncrushed, even though the bike was pretty much on my lower leg. I was able to get it back up, and then I slowly inched it down the hill further, and then kind of, took a look at it, inspected, make sure there was nothing cracked or leaking, nothing important. I did end up like scratching my tank a little bit and breaking a fairing. But the fairing was easy to fix, and the tank now has a sticker on it, so to cover it up, so it all worked out. I don't think you've had any close calls where you almost dropped your bike, right?
I have, but like again, I've talked about it before. Because I was still like I was still pretty new to having the bike. It was it was still shiny for me, like being new. And I was trying to do some slow speed turn on an incline. And I did fall, but I was like, this bike is not touching the ground. So that's when I hurt my hip. Like,
that's right.
Saving this bike. It. But your sheep incident actually, like, it kind of rang up for me when we were riding back from the High West Distillery a few weeks ago. Because we had those deer that were on the side of the road. Yeah. So, we both slowed down because I was thinking it's like, they're going to dart out. That's what deer do.
They do. So, there was also when we were riding in Colorado, we had that elk come out right in front of us. End of day, very low visibility because the sun was already pretty much down. And this elk just kind of strolled along into the road. It wasn't darting across. It was just chilling. Strolling across.
Yeah. He was having a walk.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, elk.
Well, and it's a good thing you said that because if you didn't, I wouldn't have seen him. I would have hit him.
That's scary.
Yeah. So
those are big animals.
I'm not winning that fight. So
no, God no. But luckily they, it wasn't even like. I mean, maybe it was a little bit of emergency braking.
I definitely did because
you?
I didn't see him. And I actually remember like nearing the end of the stop, like I didn't emergency brake right. My bike kind of,
a little wiggle.
So I had to like let go because I bit the brake, so that it was gonna. Yeah. So that was a close call.
Yeah. So that was that. And I remember one time when we were doing a little bit of off-roading, we had to go through like that gate. It was on public land.
Oh,
There's like that rut that both me and you were trying to like navigate, and our bikes kind of ended up like sliding into the rut. So you can't really like steer it. But I remember both me and you, I think, had to like do a little leg hop to keep the bike. None of us dropped it, which I was like, we handled that well.
I remember that.
But it was just kind of like, I feel like the more we do it off-road, the less like jolting it will be to feel the bike do that, because then you're kind of like, okay, no, it's just going to slide in there. You just keep going.
Yep.
Or you just bounce, like
push
your foot off a little bit just to like bring it back to balance and then keep it going.
Yeah, because if I remember right, you were in front of me. Yes, because I actually stopped. So you would have time to keep going. So I stopped, but I remember when my bike slid in, like I actually bottomed out the bike, like from sliding into the rut, like the edge of that rut, like bottom, the bottom of the chassis.
So putting that skid plate to work.
Finally put it to work. That big suspension. So.
Yeah, and I don't remember if mine touched the ground or not, but I do remember like very well, kind of riding across. I could see the rut, and I'm kind of like on the edge of it, trying to like kind of avoid it, and then all of a sudden, like the bike just slides into it, and I kind of bounce off with my foot a little bit.
It's not a nice feeling
off the ground. It's just jolting, but I feel like it's just one of those things that if you're riding off-road, you're going to have that experience, whether you're going over rocks or ruts or
I feel
steeper edges of a trail.
Yeah.
But over time, you just kind of get used to.
I feel like
letting your bike do what it wants to do.
Yeah, I feel like it's less jolting if it's on like a lighter, smaller bike.
Oh, most likely. We do have some pretty heavy bikes.
Yeah.
So that makes sense too.
Yeah. And then like, and this one, like, I guess like the lesson I learned from this next thing is like, just picking the right line, being aware of like the surface of the road.
Yeah.
Because it was not last year. I think it was the year before. 2022. We were riding up Guardsman's Pass.
And that was like all the
tar snakes, which luckily have been fixed now. But those are some. If you don't, for those who don't know Guardsman's Pass, it's a very steep, very tight switchback road.
Yep.
Very narrow road. And this one year, there was tar snakes. It was in the 90s.
It was a pretty hot day.
It was hot.
Yeah.
And you really can't go that fast going up that because the turns are just so pinpoint,
Yeah.
And you're climbing a hill with it. But I was going like probably a little faster than I should have with it. But I was going into my turn, and I hit a tar snake, and that caused the bike to kind of slip. It was hot, So I didn't panic at this point. I was like, okay, just stand the bike up, get some traction back. Mm-hmm. But that causes me to go wide in this turn.
And there was a car coming.
At the same time, there was a car that came around the opposite way, and they were also going kind of fast, but at the same time, they're a car, they're going downhill. I can't fault them for that, really.
Yeah.
But because I had to stand the bike up and go wide on the turn to correct the slippage, this car came around and they hit their brakes. I hit my brakes, but I mean, it was going to be a head on. I would have ended up through their windshield.
Yeah. That I do remember that very well. And, then, like, a few weeks later, you realized there was an issue with your fork. Wasn't there, like, a slight...
Was that the same time?
I think so. Because you had your fork seals replaced once, right?
Yeah, that wasn't last year, was it?
No, that wasn't... I think it was around the same year where you had that. Because I remember you saying, like, you were noticing the front of your bike was feeling, like, a little weird from time to time.
Yeah.
And I think...
maybe it probably played a part into it.
Yeah, I think you're mentioning that.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why it kind of felt off when you were even going over the tire snakes, which do feel like a little unnerving going over them.
Well, especially when it's hot and they're melty.
Yeah. They tend to get a little slippery because I went over them too. And I was like, they're noticeable, but I didn't have as hard of a time kind of like managing them.
So it could have been my suspension.
Maybe.
I think you're right.
I think it was that same year because I remember you mentioning something about that.
I know, I do remember that happened before I took the bike in for the seals. So maybe it was the same time.
Regardless, though, but it is one of those things that you kind of like, it happened. You learn from it.
Yeah.
You try to mitigate the chance of it happening again.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of those things where practicing like the low speed maneuvers and things like that comes in handy. So you kind of, and that was a very slow ride up the hill. Where you kind of learn to manage the like the weight of the bike and keep it from
and I think
falling
part of my
over at
problem,
low speeds.
I don't know about you, but it's like with part of my problem from that experience too is like I was going at a speed, again, we're not going fast, but I was going at a speed that required not slow speed turn.
Yeah.
I was leaning, so it was a high speed, quote unquote, turn. Just how the physics work.
High enough to counter steer.
Yeah, high enough to counter steer. And then so maybe the suspension did play a part into that. But even so, that's still my fault. I should have checked my bike before a ride.
Yeah. But it's not anything that you can kind of like really, there was no visible leak or anything like that at the time.
Maybe
that's true.
I didn't check my bike.
Was. Yeah.
So
that is true. But I just remember I do remember that moment very well because it did. I was like, "You okay, dude?"
I was pretty shaken because
okay? Because I did see that car, and I remember like looking back, just kind of like glancing back. You were pretty much like right near them. I was "Oh, no!" It
was very much going to be a head-on. I would have gone over my bike onto their hood, their windshield. Yeah, it would have been bad. So.
At least it wasn't like crazy
fast,
like high speed, like highway speeds or anything like that. But still, I mean, car versus bike. You're not going to win there. Yeah, yeah. And I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to think of anything else, and I don't think I've had much more out of what we've talked about so far. Yeah, I can't remember having anything else.
I've had a road rage, and I've been not victim. I'm not a victim, but it's I've been on the receiving end of a road rage incident with a Tesla driver.
I think that's just a Tesla driver.
Probably.
Just kidding. We just probably lost like 10 listeners.
No. But yeah, I remember I lane filtered up to the front of an intersection. There was, and I'm not bashing on the Tesla itself over there. It's just like it's just the car that caused the problem.
Yeah.
So I lane filtered up to the front of the intersection, which is legal in Utah.
It is legal in Utah,
and it helps traffic. So,
but it's safe for the bike.
Yep, and the rider. Anyway, so the light turns green. I start to go, but the Tesla that I had pulled up in front of did something to set him off. He was honking his horn, and then he came around me and he sped up, right? And at this point, he's kind of like locking speed with me. So I was like, well, screw this guy. So I just wanted to speed up and get away from him.
Yeah.
And when doing that, it's an electric car. It's faster than my bike.
Yeah.
And so he goes in and he swerves into me. And so I had to like hit my brakes.
Jeez.
And luckily, this was 2021, 22. So it was a while ago. So I was a little bit sharper.
Yeah.
On my emergency stuff. So I was able to emergency brake, slow down. So he got in. So I swerved around him. He was kind of chasing me. This guy's an asshole.
Jeez.
A little bit. And I was like, oh crap, he's behind me. Now he can hit me. So,
yeah.
I just sped up. I was going like probably 90 miles an hour on the 35 road. Just to like avoid this guy.
Yeah. Just to kind of put some distance between them.
Yeah. And this sounds so dramatic, but like there was another light up ahead. So I slowed down, did more emergency braking, and immediately lane filtered to the front. And this guy, I didn't check back or anything. I just heard like brakes and tires screeching. So he just saw red.
Yeah. And I feel like just some drivers just probably get their ego hurt because they're sitting in traffic and they feel like
you're taking
like
their
it's
spot.
like it's a line.
Yeah.
Like it's a line to a Disney, a Disney ride and stuff. So, and if you're getting ahead of them, then
if there's a
you're
chance,
like cheating the system or something like that. I'm like,
so if there's a chance that Tesla driver hears this, fuck you. So
I remember, I've had like a few years ago, like also filtering down, especially like down in the Salt Lake area, where drivers would try to like speed up ahead of you and stuff. And this was a Subaru Outback, and I'm like, dude, you're not going to be faster. You're not going to get ahead of me.
Yeah,
it's like this is a way faster machine.
Go on about your day. I'm not taking any time away from you.
In fact, I'm making it better for you because now you have less traffic to go through because I'm going to be 3 cars ahead by the time you even pull out of the intersection.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of ridiculous. And I feel like part of that too is because the Utah filtering law went into effect in 2019, and it was still kind of fairly fresh a couple of years ago. And now I feel like it's still fresh. I feel like every year they have to remind people like, hey, motorcyclists can do this. But I am noticing like more and more instances of drivers like moving out of the way a little bit, giving you a little bit more space so you can filter up front than what I used to see back in like 2020 when I first started riding.
Yeah, and this isn't really like a close call that I had, but like just something like it just goes into good practices while riding. You don't want to go flying through lane filtering.
No, I go like 10 miles an hour
if that,
or so. If that.
Because there was one time riding to work back when I had to go into an office every day. I was lane filtering, going really slow. A car did actually like pull out in front to block the lane, so I had to like it's like, so it's not really a close call, but
but it's still like. It's so I always worry about that too. I was like, what if this guy decides to be an ass and swing his door open or stick his hand out or just move the car to like close the gap? And I'm like, dude, you're not really helping anyone here.
Yeah. And like, you're not stopping me from riding. Like, I'm still going to have a good attitude about riding despite you assholes that do that. So
I'm still probably going to find a way to filter ahead of you.
Yeah.
Regardless, because it's a bike.
Yep.
It's thinner and smaller than your car, and that's why it's able to.
I think a lot of that too is probably just like Utah driver mentality too.
Probably. So. I mean, Utah, UDOT has to, and the highway patrol pretty much has to remind people every year like how a zipper merge works.
Oh yeah. Because
people tend to get a little pissy about that around here.
They don't like to share the road.
They're like, oh, you're cutting in line if you're getting if you're using the second lane to get up to the zipper. I'm like, no, that's literally how it works.
Like, let me block you so I hold up traffic and make it worse.
Like, that's literally how a zipper merge works. You just get up, use both lanes up until you can't.
Yep.
It's ridiculous.
It is. But yeah, like those are just kind of like, those are like the close calls that come to mind.
Yeah.
For me, you know, I even riding, I had to go into the office this last week and riding home. Traffic, of course.
Traffic's always a pain.
Yeah.
But sometimes being on the motorcycle makes it a little bit better because you can filter.
Yeah.
So,
well, I was on the freeway.
Oh, never mind. Yeah. Then you can't, which is kind of dumb. But
like, you know, we're at a snail's pace, just trying to getting through traffic, but a car. And I'm always watching my mirrors.
Same.
You know, and like I saw a car coming up. They didn't have to slam on their brakes or anything, but like they started slowing down a little too late for my taste.
Yeah.
And when they finally did stop, they were like right up against my my wheel, and I was luckily though, like I was like off to the side.
Yeah. That's what generally I try to do as well. Kind of park. So, as close to the middle of the lane as I can.
Yeah. So again, that wasn't like a close call, but it was just for me to recognize like, oh, that was a good practice to make sure I'm not in the middle of the lane.
Yep.
I'm off to the shoulder. So if that car was to just go through, at the worst, I'd just be clipped.
Yeah.
So
no, that's good.
Pinned, hopefully not pinned.
That's a good practice to kind of like follow. Yeah. Is just if you're coming to a stop, just stopping at like not directly in the middle of the lane, but as close to the edges of it as you can. Even if you can't filter, you can still kind of stop, you know, closer to like the middle divider or, you know, the other side of the lane instead of being directly in the middle of where a car might be.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that was just mostly what I had. That's most of my close calls that I can recall.
Yeah. Nice.
English. Yeah. So that's, I can't think of anything else that was like a real like lesson teacher, which on one hand it's like, hey, maybe I'm doing pretty good. Maybe I'm being safe. On the other hand, it's like, maybe I just don't remember stuff that I should be remembering.
That's the question. But yeah, I think for me as well, just the biggest probably thing was with that sheep.
Yeah.
Where it really did like rattled my, you know, get the blood pumping and stuff. Where I was like, okay, that could have been way worse than what happened. That was probably my closest or most like dangerous close call so far.
Yeah.
Other than, you know, occasional driver or something like that pulling a left turn, you're kind of, anytime I see someone's about to make a left turn or pulling up to a driveway, I'm like, brake and clutch are being hovered, and I'm ready to do some emergency swerving and stuff.
I feel like I'm never not hovering my clutch and brake when riding around town now.
Yeah, it's a very good practice to get into, and just constantly watching for every little car, every little movement around you.
Yep. So,
but no, I think it's kind of good to discuss those things and reflect on them and kind of remind yourself of why it happened and what you can do to mitigate that issue next time.
Yeah. And if I was to make the show more than it is, or claim it to be more than it is, hopefully if people who listen, if that can get them, if us talking about it can just get them to also get you guys to think about it as well. That's the only thing I would want to come out of this one. But again, that's not, I don't want to make it sound like we're so important for saying this, it's not that.
No, it's just something to keep in the back of your head when riding. And
we're in that time of year.
Also learn from your mistakes if you make them, which we all do. So. But anyways,
that's all I really had. I did want to say, because we mentioned in our last episode at the end that we had a big surprise for the next episode, which would have been this one. There's some things changing. We're working on some stuff. So
so it didn't quite work out.
We're not baiting you.
Yeah. We'll figure it out for a different time. There was some just scheduling things. Certain things didn't work out. But
not clickbait. We're not baiting you.
Not yet. Just kidding. Anyways, that's it.
That's all I have.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.